what exactly business intelligence is, why it is important, and how SQL, learning conceptual design and physical design and all that stuff that we learned in this class helps in doing business intelligence. Business intelligence systems are information systems that assist managers and other professionals to analyze current and past activities, to predict future events. So basically, this is a tool for senior managers, C-level executives, CEOs, to see how the person is doing, analyze current and past activities. Things like revenue current quarter versus last quarter, versus 3 years ago. Revenues in different geographic locations, by product line, by salespeople, by supplier. A lot of slicing and dicing of the data. So this is basically, we call it a dashboard that the executive has in his or her desktop to see how the company is doing. And then there is something called a lever that the executive has, what I can do to make it run more efficiently, what I can do to increase profit, reduce cost. So those are the type of information that are not really comes from daily transactions. Like, let's take an example of, let's say you are the CEO of Delta Airlines. Delta Airlines makes money out of running commercial aviation, or by moving people from one location to other location, by making sure somebody can go and get from employee place A to place B. You, as the average flyer, is interested in a transaction with Delta Airlines, buying a particular ticket for a particular flight. What the CEO is interested in is figuring out how that particular flight is doing. Not really interested in you. Doesn't really care how much you paid for the ticket. Maybe he cares in somewhat, but in the big picture, he cares about revenue per flight. Was the flight profitable? Was there enough seats taken in that particular flight? Or maybe he or she is interested in a bigger picture, route. The route might be the number of flights that fly from Atlanta to New York. And there might be 50 flights in a day from Atlanta to New York, and the flights change based upon the season and the day and all that kind of stuff. But he or she might be interested in, is the route to New York a profitable route? Should I add more flights to the thing, or I should take away some flights from the thing? So those are the kind of thing, or even he or she might be interested in a bigger picture. Should we have more flights to Latin America, or should we have more flights to Asia? Is flights to Asia more profitable, or the flights to Latin America is more profitable? Should we invest in do we have extra capacity so that we can add more flights, or we should reduce flights because there are lots of seats that are empty that goes from a particular location? Should we look at our catering cost? Is the catering cost per flight brings in the value that we're talking about? Do people really appreciate? Do people really come when they look at a price, they say, well, Delta provides some kind of refreshment and I should go Delta, not Southwest, because Southwest doesn't give any refreshment. So those are the kind of decisions that the executive is making at a very high level and trying to predict future. So we're not interested in data in a transaction level, we are interested in data at aggregate level. How is my January compared to last January? How is my quarter compared to last quarter? how is my trend in revenue over the years? Is there a particular segment which is doing better than the other segments? Is there anything I can do to increase revenue? Should I? So those are the kind of things. So the two broad categories we get these reports from reporting and from data mining. So this is a example. I think I would like all of you to understand what exactly this is, because this is in a nutshell what BI is. So here is the functional user. Order entry, purchasing. So you are a flyer and you are going to Delta Airlines website and you are purchasing a ticket. This is the operational database, and the operational database says, oh, I want to fly from Atlanta to New York. So it finds you all the flights that are from Atlanta to New York on this particular date. It goes in and finds the price of each flight and shows you, and you go in and you book something, and then it sends you itinerary, it sends you confirmation, and all that kind of stuff. That's operational stuff. So this three things on the top you see is operational. The operational database, you can do some reporting on operational databases and do data mining, business applications. But this particular error usually doesn't happen. Usually what we do is we get rid of this error. We take the operational database and create an extract of operational databases. Here, what we do is we get the extract, we get some data to supplement it, then we create a BI DBMS, and from the BI, we do reporting and data mining. And the operational database might be accessing it to get something in it, but usually we do not get data from here to here, we get data from here to here. Okay, so this is kind of a little bit of a misnomer, but the operational data might be accessing it to get some data out of this, but this is how it flows. It flows from here, we get the extract, we get the purchase we get some additional information, we create a BI DBMS, and we report it. The reason why we do not run report and data mining, usually we don't run that way, is because this might come and get data from here, but we do not run reports against the operational database, because operational database has to be extremely fast and it has to be normalized. And as we said in reporting in the previous classes, for reporting and data mining, this may not be normalized, because the purpose is for management to build some kind of function, like I was talking about. The CEO of Delta is looking for information at a very aggregate level, at a flight level, at a route level, at a geographic location like Latin America versus Asia versus continental US. So if he or she is not really interested in transactions, that's what we're doing here. He or she is more involved in reporting. So you do not run reports against the operational database. You take the operational database, extract it, convert that to a DBMS. Basically what we do is we roll them up. So what is roll them up means in a BI DBMS, in a business intelligence DBMS. So in each transaction, as you say, you bought a ticket, but I am interested in all the tickets, the total revenue generated by a flight. So I roll it up to flight number and total revenue generated, and I store it in the BI DBMS. The advantage of that is when I am running reports, when the management guy is running the report, he's really, let's say there are millions and millions of flight bookings. But when you break it down by flight, you reduce the complexity by, let's say there are 200 people in the flight. So the number of records you get is only 1, 2, 1/200, like less than 0.5% of all the records that was here. So you reduce the complexity of what you are looking at, and that increases the response time. So if you want to get BI in a nutshell, the top one is operational database. This one is I'm getting the extract, I'm supplementing with some data that I got from outside. Here we do a consolidated DBMS. Then we can do data mining by creating cubes and creating aggregated tables. So let me ask this, because if you understand this, I think you are like 5 steps ahead of half the people who do BI and don't understand why BI is important. And if you understand the example that I gave of Delta Airlines CEO and what Delta Airlines CEO is doing, who he or she is sitting here, you are the person who is booking a flight sitting here. You are primarily interacting with this. He or she is interacting with primarily this. We never run reports against the operational database because it will slow it down. You as the end user is looking for a response, and we do not want you to slow you down. This guy or girl who is looking for is really looking at a consolidated view of the data, and the data here is probably like I say 100 or 1% of all the data that is stored here, because we are looking at aggregate level, we are not looking at the transaction level. Okay. Let's say who didn't get that, because if you get that, you got BI, and we can talk about other things. Those are minor details, but this is the big picture of what a BI is. If you get the Delta Airlines CEO example, if you got you as the end user who is buying a ticket from Delta Airlines, you got the idea of what a difference between an operational database and a business intelligence system. All right. Okay. So how do we get data into the database, from operational database to the BI system? Read and process data only, from extract from the operational database. And again, I've already told how you get the data, so that's not very. One of the things I think you have talked about, I think if you look at SSRS, if you look at SQL Server, and I think you are interested in writing reports, you can look at something called SSRS, that is SQL Server Reporting Services, and the reporting services allows you to write reports without, totally knowing. You have to know SQL, but you don't have to be an expert in SQL to write reports in SQL Server in SSRS. So SSRS, look at the SSRS reporting if you are interested in it. But basically, the reporting SSRS allows you to build reports against SQL Server databases, and again, they allow filter, sort, group, all the SQL concepts we have talked about. Data mining is done to perform what-if analysis, to find something in the data which is not obvious, make predictions, facilitate decision making. So one of the famous data mining applications they talk about is looking at A data mining application might be as simple as the Amazon you might want to buy, might want to read, right? So when you go in and buy a book from Amazon or buy electronics or whatever, Amazon has, so data mining is not really that the data has any value. It's when you put the data together that there is value. So here is an example. So you go in and bought a book. So Amazon come back and recommended that people who have bought this book also bought XYZ book, another 3 books. You might want to buy. That's a perfect example of data mining. So Amazon collected data of individual transactions where each person goes in and buys something, and they see what other book they bought when they bought book number 1, and they keep track of it. Then they find that, yeah, most of the people who bought book number X or book X also bought book Y. So I'm going to predict that you might also like book Y. So I'm recommending that you buy book Y. There is another famous example of data mining that somebody went in and looked at convenience store data and on a Friday, and then found that there is an increase in sales of beer and diaper on Friday evenings. So they looked at the transactions that from convenience stores and found that a lot of people are buying beer, and when they are there, probably their significant other is asking them to buy some diaper, and they are buying some diaper. So the gist of the message is maybe a convenience store can sell more diapers by putting diapers next to the beers. So this is like so this is the data mining basically shows you that a correlation between 2 events which is not very apparent. So there are 2 things. One is reporting in BI. We do reporting and we do data mining. Data mining is something which is not predictions. What if analysis? What will happen if Delta decides to increase their fare by 25%? How it is going to affect the bottom line? How the revenue? Is the revenue going to go up, or the number of passengers will go down, so that the extra revenue per passenger is not going to be reflected in the total revenue. So those are the kind of things. So let's talk of a data warehouse. How does the data warehouse works? So this is the operational database. This is where we the flight that you bought, the ticket information about the flight you bought, other internal data, what kind of stuff related to what kind of route it is, what kind of equipment, like what kind of aeroplane you're flying, and any other information, any external data. All these data are extracted, and as I said, we really do not need the data at the transaction level because we need the data at the aggregate level. We extract it, and this is called the ETL, extract, transform, and load. ETL is extraction, transformation, and loading. And we do that, we move it to a data warehouse, and then we use business intelligence tools like SSRS, like you probably have heard of Crystal, of business objects, and those are the tools. So that if you are using a tool, you are using either a business object, SSRS, Cognos, those kind of tools to get the data. So this is a great diagram to understand. This is the metadata about the data warehouse that you are storing the metadata. So this is just showing the metadata. But this is really, you get the data, you transform it. As I said, we really don't want to store everything on the operational database because we are not really interested how much you paid for your particular ticket. We are interested in what was the total revenue that was generated by the particular flight, and those kind of information can be extracted, combined, and converted into a data warehouse to be used with their business intelligence tool like SSRS or Cognos or Business Objects. Okay, let's see. There is a data warehouse, but a data mart. A data warehouse basically stores data that is used by the whole corporations. You might have data marts, which are smaller. Like it might be that you have a data mart about airlines or the air maintenance, or you might have for like if you have for Walmart, you have this is their BI tool for web click stream analysis, how many people are coming to the store, to the website, what they are buying. This might be data for store management. This might be for inventory management. So data warehouse and data mart, the basic difference is data warehouse is at the enterprise level that supports everything in the enterprise, and data mart might support individual departments. And if you look at it, an individual department in a Walmart is huge. So, okay. Let's see, what else we talk about this? Okay, I don't think I'm going to confuse you guys with talking a lot about a lot of things. If you understand the basic concepts of what a BI application is, how the BI application is different from a transactional database, what is the difference between a transactional database and a data warehouse, what is the difference between a data warehouse and a data mart, if you understand what is why we create a separate data warehouse or a data mart instead of running the reports or against operational database. If you understand what is the difference between reporting and data mining, I think you are quite ahead of what I wanted to talk to you about. And for added thing, you probably, if you have time, look at the SSRS. Try to write one or two reports on reports, but even if you don't write one, if you understand that there are tools available to write reports, and the reports are primarily for senior management to make business decisions. It is not done at the transactional level. It is always done at a corporate level, at the route level, at the physical at geographic location level, at a lot of different high-level things, like a sales person might be looking at if you are running a sales organization or a company or Amazon. Let's take an example of Amazon. Amazon might be looking at what is my sales by different categories of stuff I sell, by different geographic location, which one is selling better, which one is selling less, the profit margin for a particular electronics versus books. A particular supplier, a particular manufacturer. So you can really slice and dice this thing into multiple ways to help the management to make decisions that are good for the company. And also look at the overall, revenue, by division, by group, by geographical location, by yeah. So you are empowering the business executive to make very solid decisions based upon the data that you are providing. And the primary one thing I will repeat again and again to say that you do not run reports against operational database. Why do you not run it? Because your end users are using that system to buy stuff from you. And you do not, by running reports, you are slowing them down. Two, you do not run reports on operational system because operational systems have too many records. You aggregate them, combine them, move them into a data warehouse, and the data warehouse is most of the time 1% of the size of the operational store. And the reason behind, because we are not interested in individual transactions, we are interested in aggregates, aggregates by route, aggregates by month, aggregates by year, aggregates by location. So we are only storing aggregates because that's what the executives are interested in, not in individual transactions. Nobody cares how much you paid for your flight. I am interested in how much the revenue that the particular flight generated. I'm interested in the revenue that the flight generated per week, per month, per year, per. I think you got the message. Okay, so I think that formally concludes our presentation. The next class, I think we have chapters 5, 7, 9, and 13. Is that correct? That's what we covered after midterm, or there is more? I don't know. Let me look at it. 5, 6, 7, 9, 13. And 13 only part I covered. We will start, and if you have somebody has any questions, we'll cover that, and then I will email you the test like last time. 2 hours for the test. Same question as midterm. Quiz to result tomorrow in D2 level. Anybody has any other question? Yes, final next class. Only things I covered. So let's see. Presentation is 15 minutes, no minimum, no maximum. Anything else? Okay, if there is no other question, we'll adjourn for today. We'll do the final and we'll do the presentation. As I said, I'm going to figure out how I can give back you control. And the final day, probably we have four groups. So I'm thinking with 15 minutes each group, which will probably be with questions and all that. It will probably go hour and a half on the last day of the class. Okay, good night.